So, have you ever wondered why some songs just feel so effortlessly cool? Like, you just, when you listen to it, you can't help but tap your foot and smile. Well, today we're diving into one of those tracks, Eric Clapton's Lay Down Sally. So, Lay Down Sally came out in 1977 off Clapton's Slow Hand album, and it was a hit right from the get-go. But here's where it gets interesting. This was the time when Clapton went from being the guitar god, playing like this, with just that bravado and rock god status, to playing more like this. Just with subtlety and groove, and totally changed his approach. Went from playing with Gibsons through Marshall stacks to playing the Fender through little Fender amplifiers, Bassmans or Champs. So Lay Down Sally is where country shuffle meets blues, with kind of almost like an understated funk thing mixed in. So basically that groove, there's two guitar parts, one on the left and one on the right. And one is doing this cool little bass line. And what that is basically is just going, you're playing an A chord and just adding in these bass notes. And really that's like a variation, a bass variation of going, which is the basic boogie woogie beat, right? So it's like that bouncy boogie woogie beat, but they're playing it on the bass string. And there's kind of an implied swing to it throughout this song. And it's not like a hard swing, like a jazz, like that. It's more of a bouncing 16th feel when you're playing this kind of rhythm. So it's like the eighth notes will be 1, 2, 3, 4. And then the in-betweens are kind of like slightly swung. So you get this swing there, and you can even hear that in the leads. So we'll get into that in a little bit. But the main rhythm part that Clapton's playing is this killer, very Tulsa sounding groove, playing in the style of people like J.J. Cale, where it's very subtle, it's very in the pocket, and it's based around a basic boogie beat, but he's accenting it in some really interesting ways. So it goes like this. So basically, he's playing over an A chord, and he's doing these little snaps. So you start by playing the bass note, and then you snap with upstrokes, like that. So it creates that really nice percussive sound. And then he plays this little droning lick, where he's playing an open G string and descending off that open G string. So you're hitting this cool drone there, and then there's these sustained notes. So it gives this kind of slightly dissonant droning sound. And that's basically based around an A7 chord, because you've got that seventh in there. But it's a really unique killer lick. So you go from that really snappy to this kind of drony sound. And then he's kind of keeping this in the background. The whole time it's got that back and forth. But he adds in this cool little bass swoop here, where he hits the G note there, and then there's a big bend on it. And you can hear, even on the record, it sounds like he's using some kind of small Fender amp, like a Champ or something, because when he hits that bass note, you can hear the amp starting to kind of fall apart, which is what those little Fender amps do in a cool way. So that's the riff. And basically, the whole thing is a variation on it. So when you're playing, it's great to be able to kind of get in the pocket with that basic back and forth boogie. And then there's so many variations you can do, where you go up to the flat 7, or add in the bass notes with rollovers, or that little bass swoop. That's one of the ways you can make your rhythm guitar playing really cool, by getting in the pocket with that basic shuffle and then having all these little variations that you can put in on top of it. You know, you could even kind of mix the two parts together. All right, so the basic structure of the song, it just kind of follows a 3-chord trick. 4 bars of A, 2 bars of D, back to A, and then you do the turnaround going to the E chord. So it's nothing complicated. So you're going up, back and forth. So let's talk about the solo. Okay, so basically it's an A minor vamp, and what's interesting about this song is it's in the key of A, and it's, you know, it's A blues, so it's A7, but that whole solo section really is based around actually using an A Dorian scale. So A Dorian scale is this one here. It goes like this. So it's kind of a symmetrical scale. Famously used by people like Santana or The Doors. It's just got this kind of amazing bluesy sound, but it's got this kind of like minory, slightly dissonant sound, which is really, really killer. And basically he uses that scale for most of it. But one of the things is he's playing in the style of J.J. Cale. So instead of playing with this kind of like bold, charismatic kind of like he used to play, he's playing very understated, and he's using this technique where he's kind of playing with a little bit of a swing, almost like 2-timing the notes. So it's kind of like, so it's got that swing, it's got a little bit of a bounce to it. Kind of like the way you can practice that is just going up and down the Dorian scale. And what you're doing is you're playing each note twice. So you play the note, and then you do a light ghost upstroke, which gives you that swing feel, right? It's a subtle thing. So you kind of get that little feel going when you're playing. It's got that bounce. The other thing he's doing is, like J.J. Cale, he's using volume and punctuating certain notes to create a very dynamic sound. So most of the time he's playing with this kind of soft behind the beat swing. But then certain notes, he'll bring them out and accentuate those notes. You know, adding some vibrato. Like that. He's walking down the Dorian scale. Kind of snappy, 2-stepping notes. And then when he hits that D, he vibratos it and lets it really kind of sing out. With that signature Clapton vibrato. And that jumps out. And then the second phrase, he's kind of playing, he's playing real soft with that swing. And then he puts in almost like a crossroads style lick, where he digs in and the lick kind of jumps out. He's doing that classic, like that, snapping the last note. And when he plays that, he actually moves out of that swing feel and plays it kind of straight up, more like a rock feel, you know. Like that. So he's kind of digging in and playing straight out. And the Clapton's a master of doing that. He'll often do those subtle little moves where he'll go back and forth between straight and swung. And that's really one of the things you can do to make your playing sound cool, is just kind of play with the rhythm like that. And then he goes back down the Dorian scale, adding in that little flat 5 bend. Very cool. And then so then he ends with this. He plays the lick twice. And he's doing that same thing. He's playing it softly and accentuating certain notes. Also adding in that cool little bend. Clapton does this a lot, where he goes slight bend on the minor third, just pushing towards that blue third. Snaps that note. So what you can really learn from this is that expressiveness of not just playing with notes or phrases or licks, but also playing with volume and articulation of loud and quiet, or short and long, you know, playing snappy, notes like that, playing soft, digging in, and just creating the phrases through those kind of dynamics. And it's a subtle thing, but it makes a huge difference in just the feel of your playing. So tone-wise on this song, super simple. I'm not exactly sure what he was playing, but I'm assuming he was playing a Strat with the pickup in the position between the bridge and the middle pickup right here. And a Fender amp, probably a Champ or something small. And it's very clean, you know, very dry as well. I'm using a touch of reverb on it, just, you know, to give it a little bit of love, tiny bit of compression. That's it. So it's a very clean, simple sound. But it's really fascinating to see the evolution of Clapton there. He wasn't really trying to prove anything with this track. He was just playing with some brilliant players. He was paying homage to the groove. So there's kind of a humility to the song, especially seeing the transition from Clapton in the 60s to, well, this was in the 70s, and seeing that evolution. So it's kind of like play less, make people lean in and listen when you play. Okay, that's it for this one. Hope you've enjoyed it. I'd love to hear from you. Love to hear your favorite Clapton songs or your favorite JJKL songs. And remember to give us a like or a subscribe. And it's always great to get to play on a Saturday morning with you guys. And remember, turn it up.